Hello, computer scientist. This is Mr. Lang, and I am going to make a tutorial here to kind of showcase some of the ways to get started with GitKraken. And so some of the applications that we're going to use in this tutorial is one, GitKraken. Two, we're going to use Intellj. We're going to work on some Java coding and also our GitHub account. So those three accounts we will be utilizing. So go ahead and get those loaded up. So we're going to start with GitKraken. And the first thing we're going to want to do is make a repository for our project that we're going to work on. And so I'm going to go up to my File drop-down menu, and I'm going to choose init repo. And when I do, I get some options. I can do it just on my local computer, but I also want to utilize GitHub. All right, I want to be able to put my code out on the internet, so I always have a backup of it, as well as other things, and I'll show you why we will do that in a little bit. So I'm going to choose GitHub here, and then it asks me, I already have my GitHub account, so if you don't, go ahead and make your GitHub account. And here is my LangB75 account. This is going to be the name of our repository, and I'm just going to type in here GitKraken, and I'll just leave it at that. All right, we're going to make a repository called GitKraken. We have to keep it public because we want it on GitHub. All right, and so where do we want to clone this to? So this is where you want to choose where you want to initialize that on your local computer. And you can see that I have a few other repositories made, so I really want that to be in my Intellj folder along my directory path there. So I'm going to select Intellj. All right, and so now this path is going to my Intellj, and it's going to create a new folder called GitKraken. Perfect. And I'm not going to do anything with these templates. I'm going to explore those a little later, but because they look kind of cool, because you can obviously start with all these different languages that they have, from C++ to Java, I believe is in here, to Python, to all sorts of cool things. But I'm going to leave that alone, and I'm going to choose Create My Repository and Clone. All right, and so it takes a second. And now it is opening up my repo, and I have my initial commit because they always make an initial commit for your README file. And we'll talk more about your README file here in a little bit. That's located over here. But what remote branch should master push to and pull from? This is, again, where do we want to put that on GitHub? And we want to put it on the origin in GitHub. And so I'm going to go ahead and choose Submit. And now you can see over here that along my master branch, I have my origin, which is up on GitHub, and I also have my files here local. And since these are on the same plane here, they are both up to date. So what I have on GitHub is what I have here on my local PC. And so if I would actually go to GitHub, and if I refresh this, I should see now over in my repositories, after it refreshes, my GitKraken repository I just made. And I'm going to go ahead and open that up. And there's my README file right there and my initial commit. And so I'm going to drag this off to a second monitor. And as we see here, there's the commit message right there, initial commit, and our README file. If I would happen to open that README file up here, again, there's not much to it. If I would happen to load up that README file here in GitHub, again, there's not much to it. We just have GitKraken. So what you see on the internet is what we see here on GitKraken on our local PC. This is saved on our hard drive here locally. I'm going to go ahead and close that. All right, so now I'm going to utilize a new piece of software called Intellj. This is the integrated development environment that we're going to use for developing our programs in Java. So I've done some testing, and so you can see a program in the background that I've done some testing. So I'm going to go to File, New Project, and it's going to ask me a few questions, so we'll get there. So first of all, it is Java, and I have the SDK that I'm going to use to compile my Java and interpret it. I'm not going to choose any of those options, so I'm just going to choose Next. Now I do want to create a template, so this is where I think it would do that for me in GitKraken, and I can't wait to test that out. But I do want a template. And what is the title of this project? And I'm just going to title it the same title as my repository, GitKraken. Where do I want to put that? Well, I want to navigate to my files, and there's my IntellJ, and there's my GitKraken repository. I want to make sure it goes into that repository. So make sure your file management is up to snuff. Again, it created that folder when we created the repository in GitKraken. We didn't have to create that directory. It created it for us because we chose where to put that. So we want that there. So I'll choose OK to that, and then I will choose Finish. I'm not going to change anything with the base package, and Finish. And now it's going to load up. Yes, I want this to be in this window. So while that loads up, I'm going to take a sip of coffee. Okay, so here we are. We are in our basic main Java program where we've got our public class and we got our public static void main, and we're ready to go. A lot of times you get some different pop-ups. I'm not going to go all over those pop-ups. I'm going to close those. Hopefully they won't be too annoying for us. But what I want to do here is actually show you in the project pane. Here's my GitKraken. All right, that's my folder that we saved this to. And one of the ones that you really want to pay attention to is this source. All right, so here's my source. If I open that up, my com.company looks good. There's my main, and that's my main project right there. If I would happen to close this and then open up my main, there it is. And this is the package. This is the template that they created for us. And so that's right there. So what I want to do is go back to GitKraken now, and you can see that I have a work in progress now that I've created that template in IntellJ. I have a work in progress, and there's 9 things that are associated with it. So if I click on those 9 things, here's all the files that it put into my folder GitKraken repository. So if I would happen to go to my file directory, IntellJ, GitKraken, so there's a lot of files in here that this is using to create my my program here for GitKraken. All right, there's my my company, and there's my main. That's what I was just showing you a second ago. So there's a lot of files. So what I want to do, usually what I do first is, and this is just a preference of mine, you do not have to do this, but I like to make my very first initial commit for my GitKraken. So what I need to do is I need to stage all of these. All right, so they're all in the staging area, and I'm going to give it a quick commit message. And I'm just going to say my initial GitKraken repository commit. All right, and it doesn't like the spelling of GitKraken, but you know what? I know it's right. All right, so that's my initial one, and I'm going to choose OK to that. So now we see that I have my initial GitKraken repository commit here. That's my commit message I just made. Now my branch, my local master branch, is ahead of my origin. My origin again being GitHub. So what I have here on my computer locally is not up to date with what I have online, or if I said that in reverse. So if I go to my GitHub account and I go back to my GitKraken repository, only thing I still see is the README file. I do not see my main Java. So let's fix that. So what do we need to do? We need to push that up to the internet. So we'll hit push here. Hopefully we will get a green message saying it pushed successfully my master to the origin. So now let's head on over to our repository via GitHub, and let's go ahead and refresh this. And while it refreshes, take a sip of my coffee, and there it is. Pretty cool. So along my file management, there's my main Java. All right, so I can go to that. And there's my program. All right, it looks exactly like I have. And if I put it side by side with my IntellJ, they look identical. They are up to date with each other. So there's my package com.company, there's my public class main, and everything underneath it as well. So kind of cool. So a great place to store your program. Let me also show you something here. If I go back to GitKraken, I see that I have 2 commits that I just made, and that is accurate. And I've got 1 branch. So if I go back to GitKraken, here's my branches. They'll be listed all kind of down this way. And here's my 2 commits. So again, hey, things are looking great. So now, you guys, we are going to want to do some programming in IntellJ here, just to kind of see how this is very powerful and how we can work here, create different branches, push things to the GitHub again, and then work in GitHub. If you just have the internet and you're somewhere where you don't have your IntellJ application, you can still work on programming in GitHub with your Chromebooks. I know a lot of you guys have Chromebooks and stuff. You can program right there, and then we'll pull it from the internet back to our computer. But there's some very straightforward steps that you have to take in order to do that. Trust me, I've messed up a couple times, and hopefully it will go smooth here. So what I'm going to do is I created a document, you guys, where I created a couple functions already for us to just kind of, for me to copy and paste over into my program, so that way I can do this a little quicker. All right, so I'm going to paste this in here. All right, and then basically I am going to give it a little message here. This program will create an inner and outer for loop. All right, so there we go. So let's go ahead and see if we can run it in the compiler in our IDE. So we'll go ahead and hit play there, and it's building it, it's thinking, and hopefully it will print the outer loop, and what outer loop we are in, being I, will give us the number of where from 0 up to 2, because it's less than 2, and there it compiled. And then we jump into our inner loop, and I learned a new technique from one of my students for me to tab over. I was using just spaces on the keyboard, this /T. Thank you, Mason, for showing me that. Pretty cool. So if I drag this up, there is my compiled program. All right. So now that we have a program here on our local hard drive, you're probably going to see in GitKraken that we have a work in progress. All right. We have done some things there. So what we want to do is, after you get that done and you've compiled it and things work, you're going to want to commit it. But don't commit it if it's still broken. You're still going to have to do some research and figure things out. But we ran our program and it works. So now what we want to do is we want to go to our work in progress. So I'm clicking up in my work in progress now. And I'm going to go ahead and stage all changes. So I'll stage all those. They're in the staging area now. And now I'm going to add a commit message. You always want to add a commit message. Add inner and outer for loop. All right. And we'll go ahead and choose commit these changes to those 3 files. And now you can see that we have a new commit, but it is ahead of our master. Again, if we go to our GitHub account and we go to our actual main Java program, this still looks like the program we had for our initial project commit. So let's go ahead and test it out. So going back to GitKraken now, I want to push my local to my origin. My local is one ahead of it. So I'm going to push it up, and hopefully, drum roll, it will push successfully, and it did. And now you can see they're on the same plane here. My origin and my local is up to date. So what I have in my IntellJ, I should have in my GitHub. Well, I don't in GitHub. Don't forget to refresh. And it should. There is my program that I just created in IntellJ. In GitKraken, I committed it, and I pushed it up to the internet. All right, pretty cool. So you guys, what I'm going to do now is we're going to branch this. Why would we want to branch what we're working on? Well, you don't ever want to maybe mess up your I call the master the production, if you will. This is what maybe is on people's cell phones. This is what's on people's computers. This is the game that people have downloaded, and now you are a video game developer and you want to try to make new scenes or make the graphics better. Man, in Minecraft, for example, my young boy is going through it, and I'm having my students teaching me, hey, you can put these packs on to make this look like this. And so developers are not going to stop developing, but they don't want to develop on their master production. All right, they want to branch it off. So I'm going to go ahead and choose branch. And I am going to put in a branch name of what I'm going to work on a program called is count blocks. So I'm just going to call this count blocks. All right, how many blocks I've got. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and press my enter key there. And now I have my count blocks, but it is, if I hover over it, it is exactly the same as my master. If I hover off of it, you can see the +1 right there, and it comes up with the master. So what it looks like on my local computer here is exactly what it's going to look like on my GitHub account, and that is accurate. So let's go ahead and add a function. So we are going to add this function called how many blocks. So give me 1 second. I'm going to copy that code, and I'm going to put that up here in my main area up here. So let me go ahead and put that in here, and I'm just going to go ahead and put in a quick single line comment. This function will determine how many blocks I need for the pyramid. All right, so remember being a kid with all your blocks and you made your pyramid? Well, if you want to go 10 blocks high, you've got to know how many blocks you need for the base, how many you need for the second row, the third row, and whatnot. And that's what this function will do. All right, my goal is not to go through the entire function there, but just show you that. But so now, you guys, I am going to go outside of that program that I have up there, and I'm going to call this. All right, so I'm going to call it by simply giving the name of what the function is, count blocks. And here I can give a argument for its parameter. It's asking me up here in the function, well, how many levels do I want to go up? So as a kid, I want to build my pyramid up. I want to build it up 5 levels. All right, and there we go. So let's go ahead and run this now, or compile it. And it's going to compile our original program for our outer and inner for loop. But then when it gets done with that, it's going to tell me that I need 55 blocks in order to complete a 5 row pyramid. If I would happen to change that argument to 10, all right, and then play that, it will compile, and it will give me a number of, I can't do that in my head, 385 blocks I'll need. So go back to your local toy store and get some more blocks to build your cool pyramid. So pretty cool. So what we're going to do, you guys, now is we're going to take a look at our GitKraken. And here we are. We have a work in progress still on our count blocks. It's still even with the master. All right, my work in progress up here is what we just worked on though. So I'm going to stage all of these files. All right, and then I'm going to add a summary. So we add count blocks. You know what, I'm going to name it my function name, count blocks, using camel case. And I am going to do that for a function, add count block function. All right, so that's what we did, and we're going to commit that. And now you can see that that branch is ahead of my master branch. Let's take a look at this in GitHub real quick. So here we are in GitHub, you guys. And right now I have a master branch, and that's it. I only have a master branch. Okay? I do not have my other branch. Well, what do we need to do? We need to push that. So let's go ahead and push it. Oh, excuse me. Took a sip of coffee there. What remote branch should count blocks be pushed to and pulled from? The origin. Perfect. Go ahead and choose submit. And they're pretty smart at GitKraken. Thank you, GitKraken. They know what you want to do. So there it did. It pushed successfully. Awesome. Well, let's go take a look at our program now. Let's go ahead and refresh it. And now it's back. We're on our master branch, and this is what our master branch looked like. All right. And here is our count blocks branch now. Pretty cool. So we can click on count blocks, and now this added our count blocks function that we just made. Pretty cool. So let's check this out. So right now we have our, back in Intellj, and we have our count blocks branch checked out. So that's what we see here. But watch what happens here. I'm going to go back to here. You know what? I'm going to bring this down so we can watch it happen in real time here. And let me try to get things situated here. Working in my Windows 10 virtual machine here. So thank you, Windows 10, for letting me use you as a virtual machine. There we go. Oh, I thought I had things all. Okay, so here's my IntelliJ. I'm going to go ahead and close my project pane so we can see our program a little bit more. And then here again is our IntelliJ, our GitKraken. So I can't make that any smaller. Let me see if I can bring this down a notch. It's not letting me scroll it down. Let me try Control-Shift minus, there we go, minus a little bit so we can see it. So again, we have this checked out with this check. But let's go back and check out our master. So I double-clicked on that, checked out successful. Watch over here. This should is a key word. Maybe I have to click on it. Okay, I clicked on it to make it active again. And here it is. This is our master. And this is what we created for our very first master branch. That's all we've got. Here's our commits just for our master. If I go ahead and check out then my count blocks again, all right, and then if I check over here in my IntelliJ, it switches for me back to that branch. Really cool. All right, so eventually we are going to merge our count blocks with our master. So again, pretend you're that developer of that video game and you just made an awesome new scene for your users. You can't wait for your users to check it out. You're going to have a big new break coming out party, you know, for all of your new stuff that you're going to show to all your friends, and you've got all this media hype behind all your programs that you're working on, and now you've tested it, and now you are ready to merge that with your master, so that way your users may see on their phones or their Xboxes, hey, there's a new version of this program. Download it. New scenes, new games, and they'll tell you what, in the README file kind of things of what is all expected to see that. So we're going to merge that eventually. All right, we'll merge those together. But what I want you guys to do is, because, hey, as a developer, you're thinking in your mind, hey, there's things that I want to add to my program, and I'm thinking, and you know what, I want to get those things done. So we go to GitKraken. You don't have your computer, your local computer. So I'm going to check out my master branch here, you guys. So here I am in my master branch, and I believe there's a way to make branches and stuff in GitHub, and that's what I'm going to practice. I love learning new things, and I'm going to practice that as well. But we're going to go back to GitHub here, and I am going to create a function called roll a 6. All right, so when you got a couple die, you want to roll a 6. If you roll a 3, you lose. If you roll a 6, you win. So I'm going to go and put that in my main area here. This is where I'm going. Oh, you know what I forgot to do is choose edit. I wasn't able to edit anything right there, so I chose edit. And now I'm going to come into here and I'm going to paste my function. Public static void roll a 6 is my game. Again, I'm not going to go through the program with you, but I do have my roll a 6 there. I do want to call that though. So I'm going to go ahead and go underneath here and right here, and I want to call my roll a 6. So I'll just type roll, and I'm going to see if it will do an autofill for me, being that I'm online. Roll a 6. Doesn't look like it. All right, so, and we will finish with our exclamation point. Okay, or our semicolon, excuse me. So there we are, you guys. I think we've got things looking pretty good. All right, and so again, we've done this online. You are working at home, you've got your program done, and now you are ready to bring it back to your local branch on your local computer so you can work on it in IntelliJ, because until we bring it down, we can't work on it in our integrated development environment to see if it will compile. So those are some things that we're going to do. So to begin, before we pull it down, I want to add or merge count blocks with my master. All right, so I need to check out my master to do that. And I'm going to right click on master, and I'm going to choose, I need to right click on blocks, excuse me. And I want to merge my count blocks into my master branch. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. And merged count blocks into master. Take a look here though. We've got a lot of things kind of going on right here, and we're going to get to that here in a little bit. But if I go to my master, which I have checked out, and I go back to Intellj, this is my master branch, and now I have in the master branch the function for count blocks, which I didn't have in the master branch before. I just had this program here for my inner and outer for loop. So it merged it. Pretty cool, right? So now, you guys, I want to bring down my, my roll of 6 function that we created in GitHub. There's my roll of 6, and we created that on our master branch. So let's go ahead and minimize that. The first thing that we want to do, you guys, is we want to stash this. This is what I learned yesterday, all right? And so we want to stash this. I messed this up, so I'm hoping that this will work. So I'm going to choose stash first, okay? And now, oh, you know what? One thing I forgot to do in GitHub. It won't let me do this unless I do this in GitHub. It won't let me pull it down. So I need to commit my changes. So I add my roll a 6 function. All right, so I made my commit, add roll a 6 function. We're going to commit that. Forgot to make that simple change there. So now on my master branch, I have that committed. If I wanted to see that, I can go to my GitKraken. I've got my 4 commits. I can see my commits down here. I've got my roll of 6 function that I've just made. All right, if I go now to my Intellj, all right, there is my roll of 6 function. All right, this is my origin. My origin now is one ahead of my master. All right, and that's accurate because my master doesn't have the program roll of 6 that you worked on at home, but it does have, we merged it with our count blocks. That branch will always be there just so we can see for, testing purposes and, development purposes that, hey, yeah, we did create a branch for that. All right, so now, again, we want to pull that down. So I'm going to choose stash one more time that I've made that adjustment, stash. So now I'm getting ready to pull it. Oh, I hope this works. Pull it, and now we've got a pull fail, and that's okay, all right, because what's happening is we have a merge conflict. There are merge conflicts that need to be resolved. So you guys, can do one of two things. I can come over to my GitKraken, and I can see where we have our head and we have different merge conflicts. Here's my master, and I'm going to show you this a little bit more in just a second, but we have some conflicts. So I'm going to go ahead and minimize that. Another way you can do it is if we click on this file here, I can see this was my master program locally here. This is my origin master, what we have online. All right, so we've added our roll of 6 function online. So we need to fix basically it's saying, hey, where do you want to put some of these things in our local master? I like to do it, and I'm sure with practice, I'm going to be working in GitKraken as well to do that, but I like to do that right in my Intellj. So it's saying, hey, where do I want, here's my counting my levels for my count my blocks. Where do I want that function? Well, I'm fine with that function right there, so I can take out this, but if I wanted to move it, I can move this function to another location. Basically, I would highlight it all, even the single line comment, and I can move this to another. Maybe I wanted it after my roll of dice or something like that. I can choose where I want to roll it, or excuse me, where I want to put it. And so I'm going to look down here as well, because again, this is the new ones that came in. So here's my master branch now, and this is where I'm going to be calling things. And here's my head. All right, so where do I want to call? I'm going to take this out as well. Where do I want to call my roll of 6? All right, so here's my count blocks function, but where do I want to roll it? So they're saying, hey, let me take these out. What they're saying is, do I want to call this maybe before? Oh, I copied it. I'm going to cut it with a Control X. Maybe I want to put that here. Again, there was multiple different programs going on, so they're saying, hey, where do you want to call things? So I'll first do this program, then I want to call roll a 6, and then we want to then have count blocks and whatnot. So here we are, you guys. We have our program kind of where we want. We want to take this head out as well, or we've moved things around so we don't have any more conflicts anymore. All right, and that's a good thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and go back to my GitKraken. I'm going to say that, let me go ahead and close this. I'm going to say that my conflicts are resolved. I just resolved all of those. And down below, it's going to give me a commit message. I merged my remote tracking branch with my origin master. All right, so I'm going to choose, commit and merge. And now I am merged. My local here is local, but what I have on my local machine, because I just made all those changes, is ahead of my master branch that is the origin, which is online. All right, and that makes sense because, again, I just made these changes here to this program of where I want to put things, but it is not up to date with this program here in my master branch. If I open this up, again, it doesn't have my, not roll a 6, but my, what program did I just do? Yeah, the roll a 6. So it's got roll a 6, but it doesn't know where to put things. It's not merged with my count blocks. There we go. It's not merged with my count blocks. So I don't see anything with count blocks here. So let's go ahead and go back to our GitKraken, and let's push that back to the internet, and now it should say that it's successful. So now what I have on my local branch and my Intellj here with all of my 3 programs, my 2 functions, is refresh. I should now see my count blocks, and there is my my count blocks, my roll of dice, and here is my count blocks, which is up here. My count blocks right there. All right. So now things are exactly the same. So now what we want to do is we want to see if our project will compile. So I'm looking back in my programs here, and I've got this main source, and it looks like I've got an error possibly. All right. And so we may have to fix those. All right. So let's go ahead and see what happens when I run this and see what error it gives me. I usually always have an error somewhere. So error 13, line 13, maybe I didn't close it. Illegal start. Oh, I bet you I didn't close it here. All right, and I didn't. My system out print, I never closed that. So let me go ahead and close that up. All right, and so now I've got that there. So I'm going to go ahead and choose run again and see if it will compile. All right. Sweet. So it did. So there's my inner and outer for loops. So here's my roll a dice game. Again, that's where I chose for it to be called. If you remember, I moved it up to roll a 6. It was below it. I put it above it where I wanted it to be as a developer. And then there's my counting blocks. I'll need 385 blocks to go 10 levels high. So as you see, I just had to do some editing in my IDE, my Intellj. So what I want to do is, you can see there's a work in progress. So I want to commit that. And this is just a simple bug fixes. All right, I fixed some bugs. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and, oh, you know what? I never staged it. My bad. Stage all those first. And I'm going to go ahead and just type here, fixed some bugs in program. All right, and I'll choose commit. I fixed those changes, but as you can see, my master is ahead of my local master here is ahead of my origin master. So I could probably blow that back up. Man, I bet you that's been small for a little bit. Sorry about that, guys. I did that when I had my split screen and I never went and made it bigger. So my local is ahead of my origin, and that's true because on here, I still don't have, I didn't close this up right here. All right, I made a mistake, didn't close it up. So now, you're right, I need to push that up to the internet. So we'll push it. Hopefully it will say we are successful. There we are. And now we have our branches are up to date. If I go to GitHub and refresh, I should now see my closing right there. As you can see, it populated in front of our very own eyes. So again, you guys, this is an amazing tool as a developer to make branches. All right, so you can practice new things, and if you mess it up, it's not affecting your master, the production that's out there on people's phones or on their Xboxes or on these games online. It's pretty cool, all the things that you can do with this. And so I'm going to actually get into these boards and really get into trying to set up our sprints and our backlogs and stuff like this as a developer, how we can then really get us focused on our projects and what we need to do next, what we can check off of our list, what we're going to work on after that. As a team, this is going to be pretty cool. I'm going to see if I can close that. Can I get back to, oh boy, how do I get back to my GitKraken? Maybe I click there. There we go. So again, I'm just learning this piece of software. And that's what I love about teaching computer science, you guys, is we are going to be learning new stuff. You guys are going to, hey, Mr. Lang, check this out. I did this or I did that. I got students telling me this all the time right now. And so I'm really looking forward to learning more about it. So please teach me things that as you guys, because you're going to run into problems. Are you just going to sit there, or are you going to research it and try to figure it out? In class, the reason why I made this tutorial yesterday in class, we ran into a lot of errors. We fixed those. So thank you again, you guys, for being my students. And I can't wait to see what else we develop in computer science here. So have a good one.